I'm sure. So if you're just joining us now, we're coming to you from Worcester, Mass. If you just kind of stumbled upon the stream, maybe a friend linked it to you. This is Eric, and I'm Zach, and we are I'm not he's a legacy expert. I'm just the guy that sets him up to know what he knows. And we are coming to you live from Worcester, like I said. This is the Titanium Series. The winner of this tournament is going to get about $600 in cash money. Second place about $400. It's a $2,600 tournament, pays to top 16. And we run these every 2 or 3 months. So if you like Legacy, if you want to come down, please come on down to Worcester. We're going to hold them in Worcester, Manchester, lots of different cities. Check out mtgtitanium.com for more information. This is your first Titanium event.
It is. It is. It appears to be extremely well run. It's well attended. There was plenty of room here. You can actually see there's a big section that is not filled right now, but it feels like we could have a ton more people in here. What do we have, like 200-300 people in here right now?
Yeah,
it's
really, about right.
It's really full in terms of the number of people, but I think TJ's has set this up where, when you're coming out, you're going to have a great time, and there's going to be plenty of room for everyone. So
yeah, it will grow for sure. Titanium will exist this year. Next year, this tournament series is here for the long haul. There's going to be a Titanium Finals in January. There's going to be a Titanium Finals next January. So try and qualify. Play either the monthly events at TJ's or the quarterly events here. As well as the one that you run at Scholars, right? Do you run Legacy tournaments there?
Yeah, we run Legacy every week. So I work with Kyle, the owner of Scholars. I help him out with kind of supplemental singles. I do a lot of backpacking. So anything that you need, if you can't find it, at your local game store, it's definitely worth a trip out. And we have, in between us, probably 80 undergrounds. I don't even know. it is Legacy, vintage. We've got you covered. And yeah, we just run Legacy events every single week. I actually live stream those on Twitch.
Very cool. Where can they find it?
Brainstorm MTG on Twitch. Cool. It's no commentary right now. It's just a top-down camera, and you can just actually watch our Play Mistakes live every week. I'm on camera a lot, and usually with something new. Last week I played Death's Shadow, which is a Legacy deck. I will say that. I didn't perform great with it. I went 2-2, had a chance to money in the final round, and got blood mooned right out of it. But it makes me want to try a new sideboard card. I think I'm going to try out Hull Breach is going to be the next thing.
Nice. That's spicy.
That's decks that run Blood Moon and Chalice. I feel like that could be very good against.
So here we go. Neither one of these players, I believe, running Hull Breach. Curtis on your left, he's playing the Enchantress deck we talked about. And Tom Smiley, we've already seen him. You did an interview with Tom. He sounded like he knew what he was talking about. For sure. He knows his way around this 4-color Leovold deck.
And we're moving into Utopia Sprawl on Basic Forest.
Yep. I love his choice of Basic Forest there. Ice Age? Oh, yeah.
Now, are those the Judge promo Ice Age, or is that I can't tell if they're foil or not.
I think that's just OG Ice Age.
Nice. We got a Green Sun Zenith. He's going to be able to get out his Enabler. Enchantress did pick up, I guess it feels like recently, I guess it's actually Onslaught, Enchantress Presence, which doesn't feel like that new a card to me, that old a card I should say, really makes a big difference. And then there's some other cards from Theros block which people speculated might be playable. We'll see if he has any of those in there.
Well, he has one Nykthos, that's a mana producer.
That would make a lot of green. There are a lot of enchantments coming down. And it looks like he's going to attempt to hardcast Emrakul here. He's got Solitary Confinement, Or of Silence. Lots of fun enchantments in here. Miri's Guile, Elephant Grass. This looks like it will be fun to watch. A lot of potential explosive mana in this type of list. And we've got Deathrite Shaman.
Mana Bloom, wow, 4x Mana Bloom. Now this is a card from Return to Ravnica that I'm going to have to look up. I don't remember what Mana Bloom does.
I actually just had to pull a bunch of those out of bulk. I thought it was going to be worth some money. I was wrong. They're 12 cents on TCG Player.
Fair enough. Get them now. Get them now before Curtis Weissman proves us wrong.
Yeah, I came across a stack of like 20 of them and I was very excited. Because at one point it was worth like $1. No longer, sir.
So, looks like Curtis starts off with Utopia into turn 2 Argothian, but no more land, while Tom has a pretty good start himself. Turn 1 Deathrite, turn 2 Stoneforge.
So it's going to be slightly clunky to get that down and activated and attacking. He could get it out and equip it and not have an attacker next turn with 4 mana, 2 for the Stoneforge, 2 to equip.
Right.
So he's probably just going to end step, put that in.
Set it up. Yeah, set it up for 2 turns from now.
Yeah, he'll probably pass the turn, put it in an end step, untap, equip. But we'll see. I mean, it depends on how well he knows the matchup. It would likely be better to just go ahead and jam that out as fast as possible and preserve the mana for the following turn. But it's not particularly exciting to push that hard just to have 2 tapped creatures.
Oh, and the Sarah's Sanctum. If there was ever going to be a draw that Curtis wanted, it was Sarah's Sanctum this turn.
Argothian Enchantress, Daze is huge there.
Wow.
Still drawing a card off the Argothian Enchantress trigger. It's a cast trigger. Looks like we've got a Force of Will altered. Looking like a Wolverine.
Therese Nielsen, known for her alters of those Force of Wills. I've seen so many different kinds, from superheroes to presidents to anything you want. Darth Vader's. Noble Hierarch. Interesting. We hadn't even seen him play a Noble Hierarch on stream yet.
Yeah, Hierarch pushing through extra damage off of True Name. He's very happy with the card in terms of its damage production and its mana fixing. All right, Seal of Removal's gonna make equipping Sword of Fire and Ice very tricky.
Yep. Now, Seal of Removal, for those of you who weren't playing during Nemesis, which is probably most of you, it's an unsummon, but an enchantment version of unsummon. You sack the seal to bounce a creature.
We have a Green Sun Zenith.
X is 2, presumably, for another Argothian. There she is. One of the most important cards of the deck. That's why the Green Sun is in there. That's actually the only target in the main deck. He just needs that redundancy. Because without the Enchantresses, this deck doesn't work. And you can see how easy it's going to be for Curtis to get to 15 mana. Given a few turns unchecked, Sarah's Sanctum will, I mean, right now it produces 3 mana. Given him, if you give him 2 turns to Goldfish, it'll produce 15 mana.
Ooh, Solitary Confinement. That's going to be a problem.
Got to figure this will be met with a Force of Will. So Solitary Confinement basically means you can't die. Damage dealt to you is reduced to 0, and you skip your draw step. But during your upkeep, you must discard a card.
And you will likely have a severe surplus of cards, given all of the card drawing triggers for every enchantment.
Yeah, this is exactly what the Enchantress deck wants to do.
Now, the actual wording on Solitary is prevent all damage that would be dealt to you, and you can't be the target of spells or ability. Just to confirm here, Deathrite definitely does not target him and makes him lose life. So Deathrite does not particularly care about Solitary Confinement, which is kind of predates Deathrite Shaman in terms of the last time I've seen anyone play Enchantress. So just wanted to confirm that that is a real issue. So we've got an Exploration. Extra lands are now possible.
Yeah, with every 1 mana enchantment Curtis plays, it both powers up his Sarah's Sanctum and draws him 2 cards. Now, with the new Legend rule, of course, if he were to play another Sarah's Sanctum, the way it would work previously, the new Sarah's Sanctum just goes to the graveyard, but now you get to choose which Sarah's Sanctum you want to keep, and he will, of course, choose the untapped Sarah's Sanctum.
That Aura of Silence is going to pretty well just trump that Sword of Fire and Ice. There's very little that Tom could possibly do to make that stick around. Batterskull has some tricks, being able to return it to your hand, but this is going quite poorly. It's almost like he's just all in on the Deathrite plan, but 4 turns for Enchantress is an eternity.
Yeah, that's why we love to see this deck. Even if it's not the most competitive, it's really fun to watch because it just goes off. Look at this. This is going to be 1 turn. This is going to tap for 1, 2, 3, 4, like 6 mana. Is this Serra Sanctum? Maybe only 5. Nykthos going to make 5 mana. This is crazy. Multiple ways to stop the Sword of Fire and Ice. Seal of Removal, chump blocking with Argothian, Aura of Silence, Solitary Confinement. That's not his worry. His worry is running out of cards with the Solitary, or just hitting a glut of lands off these Enchantresses. Whoa. Is that him? Is that the Aeon's Torn?
We have a problem.
Now, it looks like Curtis is out of cards. So, the Solitary Confinement will die during his extra turn. Not the worst problem to have. The cool thing, too, is this is really goofy, but if the 15 weren't enough, he can bounce his own Emrakul and cast it again.
Annihilated.
Nice to see Emrakul doing some fair work. To see lands tapped for 15. Not show and telled into play or whatnot.
Alright, Batterskull is 2 permanents. The SCG tokens. And he has optionality here. He could bounce one of those, like the Germ token. But I'd imagine Curtis doesn't feel any strong sense of urgency here. He's pretty good. He likely sees the onboard trick of bouncing his own Emrakul and replaying it.
So, it's like we're on turn 2 here. 4 permanents. Oh, but the other side of the board. Yeah. It's a little more than 4. Sarah's. Tap for mana. Needs extra yellow D6s. That's a good situation.
Explaining he's going to pick up Emrakul, put it back down.
That was fun.
Alright. So it looks like our Enchantress player, Curtis, has 4 Leyline of Sanctity.
Wow.
Which typically you're using that versus decks like Tendrils of Agony. That way you're not going to get just comboed out. The deck has very little defense against that. Other decks also use that against heavy discard and sometimes burn, which I'd imagine would also be somewhat of a challenging matchup depending on the enchantment suite. Aura of Silence goes up to 4 of those post board. Good versus the mirror match.
Of course.
For certain.
You got to plan for that.
You do not want to be the second best Enchantress player in the tournament. Authority of the Councils, 4 Humility, and a Blind Obedience.
Wow.
So
not really a heck of a lot going on here. I mean, Authority of the Consuls, you can't imagine that's versus this deck. Gaining 1 life when True Name Nemesis comes into play, not the best. Gaining 1 life when Deathrite Shaman comes into play, not really going to mitigate the life loss. Now, Humility is a little more interesting. It would turn off Deathrite, Stoneforge, Noble, True Name, but at the same time, Sword of Fire and Ice on any vanilla 1/1 still is 5 damage. Not sure about that either. It seems like Curtis's main deck is already pretty well set up for this matchup. Or at the very least, he didn't configure his sideboard for this matchup. the 4-color good stuff.
I have to admit, I'm looking up Authority of the Councils. Creatures enter your creatures your opponent control enter the battlefield tapped. Perhaps some type of hedge against Splinter Twin.
The Felidar Saheeli combo. It's an odd inclusion, right? I mean, you maybe against elves it buys you a turn, but if they're Craterhoof Behemothing you anyway, not sure why that one's in the sideboard. Death and Taxes, I guess it could buy you a few turns.
Sneak Attack, there you go. Sneak Attack is an excellent reason for that.
Aha. So I was focusing on the life gain. It's the comes into play tap that it's there for.
Yes.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, and then Blind Obedience as well. So they found a couple of cheap enchantments that can still give him some game versus some of his worst matchups.
Now I have to admit, Curtis is a newcomer to me. I'm sure he's been playing a while. Anyone who's been playing Legacy has probably been playing a while. But I don't recognize him. If he wins, we'll have to get him in here and ask him where he usually plays, because I'm curious about this Enchantress deck and about Curtis, because, man, that's cool.
Oh, he's halfway there.
Yep. Good situation, needs to win one of the next two. On the flip side, Tom Smiley has better sideboard options. Ether Sworn Canonist is the one I'm immediately looking at. Only one enchantment per turn, basically. Meddling Mage, not bad either. He could sideboard up to 4 creatures if he wanted to. Meddling Mage naming Emrakul at least forces Curtis to have an answer in his deck.
Probably the card that I think is the easiest to miss there is Zealous Persecution. That would actually kill the Argalthian Enchantresses, which are very, very difficult for him to deal with otherwise, giving them -1/-1. They are just an 0/1, and Shroud does protect them from most removal, but that would certainly clear the board. And he is looking to get multiple down. It's unlikely that Curtis would ever shy away from committing multiple to the board because he's afraid of a card like Zealous Persecution.
That's an easy one to miss. I mean, if you're playing against a combo deck that just killed you with an Emrakul, at least me, I wouldn't think to side into Zealous Persecution, but that's pretty heads up.
Yeah, I do believe the Emrakul is entirely incidental to the kind of the game state. He gets to the point where he can create as much mana as he wants and he can draw as many cards as he wants.
Yep.
He can pretty much kill you with whatever he wants.
Exactly.
Emrakul just happens to be one of the most efficient ways to do that. But I mean, he could probably kill you with like MAGA, Trader of Fools, or whatever, the Saviors of Kamigawa.
That would be goofy.
Just come in and just drain you for 20. I mean, that
Fireball, hell,
yeah,
anything at that point.
He's so far out at that point. So it looks like we've got some Thoughtseize taking an Argothian Enchantress, leaving Enchantress presence, Miri's Guile, some lands.
Yeah, so not a great situation for Curtis. Anytime your opponent is on the play and goes Deathrite into Wasteland, it's really tough. So if Curtis can possibly hit something like a Wild Growth right here, that would be really good. But if he doesn't, that's all right too.
I think he's probably regretting not leading with that basic forest.
Mm-hmm.
There was really no strong reason for that Wasteland to set him back a turn. His mana base is rock solid.
Full screen. Sorry? Can you full screen?
Not full screen.
Not far screen. So, Brainstorm, going to set up Tom's hand.
And we're seeing a lot of Deathrite Shaman today. That is likely to be a recurring theme. And we'll see how much work they pull in this matchup. They don't really do anything with enchantments in the graveyard. So they're not as much of an inevitability as they are in kind of a mirror match. You're pretty much relying on your own graveyard, but hopefully Tom will be playing a lot of instants and sorceries if he's going to hang with Curtis's draw engines.
Curtis playing face up. That's a cool touch. I don't think most people would do that if we weren't on camera, or if they weren't on camera rather, but Curtis, being the good guy that he is, shows us what Tom already knows and has written down. Maybe we could get him to move it just a little further to the right.
So Miri's Guile, kind of similar to Sensei's Top, or half a Sensei's Top, given that it's just going to give him card selection every single turn. Certainly gone up a lot in price, mostly due to Commander. But we'll see. We'll see what this does to the value.
Is Miri's Guile a reserve list card?
I think it may be.
Wow.
It's at least from that era. They should have that on the Gatherer, the reserve list status.
Yeah, they should. They shouldn't make you go to a separate website entirely just to find out. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, my friend John used to beat me with Miri's Guile all the time. I didn't understand why it was good. But yeah, choosing the best card out of 3 every single turn. Turns out that's a pretty powerful effect for one single green mana on the first turn of the game that you probably weren't going to use anyway.
Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not reserved.
Not reserve
It is
list.
not. So, speculators, cool your jets.
Speculators, stop speculating. How about that?
It's not going to go to $100.
So Tom, to get you caught up on the game state, Force of Will did counter the Argothian. Had to make sure that didn't resolve. Tom's playing a waiting game, or not a waiting game, but a tempo game, basically, because he knows that he can't beat the raw power of the Enchantress deck going late. But he can stymie it temporarily for his Deathrite Shamans to do work.
And this is not great for Tom. If that Enchantress presence is going to stick around, he does not have a ton of ways of removing it.
Yeah, I mean, what cards in Legacy kill enchantments, really? Vindicate?
Abrupt Decay is probably his best option for that. Zealous Persecution could have been Golgari Charm pretty easily.
Okay.
And that's the type of card that you tend to see in these builds.
And there it is, the one Abrupt Decay.
So, to the rescue.
Curtis kind of opened himself up to a wasteland there. He had a Heath he could have played. Maybe he didn't want to crack it due to the cards on top of his library.
Fetch lands are at a bit of a premium with the Miri's Guile, making sure that you're using them to get rid of absolute garbage instead of kind of flooding out. Continuing to get on basics. Green Sun Zenith for 2 is going to go ahead and get that Argothian Enchantress, so he's primed the engine here.
Yeah, all he needs to do is get 1 to stick, but at the same time, look at this. Curtis. Huh, interesting. Tom didn't drain for 2. Instead, he gained 2 life from the Enchantress.
Looks like we do have the Sealer removal on the other side, so there's at least 1 card draw coming up, plus whatever the newly shuffled deck yields.
Look at this. Deathrite Shaman attacking for 2. You don't see that every day. Curtis down to 7. Make sure that life total gets updated for you.
Sword of Fire and Ice. So Curtis is very low, but he's set up to do some explosive plays on his turn. That Seal is going to make sure that Sword of Fire and Ice can't connect for 1 turn.
Yep, so much of this Enchantress deck is just building up to 1 big turn, building up. Ooh, and there's the Mana Bloom. The reason that Mana Bloom is in the deck is because every turn, if it has no counters on it, it comes back to your hand. So you can cast it every single turn and trigger your Argothians every single turn. Thank you.
So solitary confinement will be pretty difficult to deal with if that does come down.
Interesting to note, no sources of life gain in Curtis's deck. I was a little surprised by that. I guess there's no enchantment that really provides, enough life gain to make itself useful. He relies on like Elephant Grass and Seal of Removal to deal with the creatures.
Even with solitary confinement, he's going to have to run out of instants and sorceries. I mean, at only 6, it's going to be really hard to stabilize against the double death rights.
Right.
We'll see how this goes.
There's the equip. This will force the seal.
Looks like he's going to try and get in and push through 5 damage here.
Yeah, this will force the chump block, I think. I mean...
Unless he can win on his turn.
Right.
Magic players will need 2 more players.
I mean, he's dead either way. I think you have to take it and you have to hope to just combo off.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not like the 1 extra turn. The sword's still going to kill you no matter what, combined with the death right activation. So yeah, your play was what he did. He just took it. Falling to 1. Can he do it here? There's 3 cards. Does see 2 enchantments. It's going to be pretty hard to get to 15 mana this turn. And the play that I questioned earlier in the game, removing Curtis's creature rather than his own instant, proves him right and me wrong, because let's say Curtis were to slam a solitaire here, Tom would still have an instant in his graveyard to drain for the last 2. So Wild Growth trigger, Enchantress' Presence trigger,
It is outstarted to look like getting solitary confinement and hoping that Tom doesn't realize Deathrite can still kill him.
Right.
That is, again, you got to be in the realm of your opponent just misplaying.
Oh, it happens.
It does.
Every round. It's Mike Turian that said, I have never played a perfect game of Magic. I'm inclined to agree with that statement. I don't think I have either. We all mess up every game, and you got to play to your outs. Got to respect Curtis for it. Going back to the board, looks like he's siding in some extra cards there. The Auras of Silence. A little overcorrection maybe. I'm not sure that the Auras of Silence are actually that good against Tom. But when you just lose to something, it's a natural reaction to overcorrect for it. We see this all the time. In every format of Magic, people are like, oh my god, I lost to this creature, let me side in all my Dismembers and all my Fatal Pushes and this and that. And really what they should be fighting over is the card draw. Something like this.
He does not have a particularly deep sideboard as well, so Aura of Silence at least can interact, whereas Leyline of Sanctity does very, very little.
Right.
If anything, right?
Yeah, doesn't interact with Deathrite, doesn't interact with True Name, obviously.
It would just be the Thought Seizes from the sideboard.
Sort of Fire and Ice trigger, that's about it.
Yeah, there's very little. So yeah, I mean, it's slim pickings. He's definitely kind of picked his matchups that he wants to be able to interact with. And
this isn't one of them.
No, I think he's probably still favored here, though. This is not an axis that, this Bant Deathblade deck is designed to fight along. There's not really anything you can do to stop a deluge of enchantments from being cast one after another. There's no Chalice to cut stuff off. There's no counterbalance. Not that that sees play anymore. But it's really a different axis, which makes it a fascinating matchup.
Yeah, it's almost like Tom's the beatdown, and in most matchups he wouldn't be, right? In most matchups he'd be trying to sculpt his hand with the Brainstorm, trying to have the correct counter magic with the Dazes and Force of Wills, and have inevitability with the True Names. But here, unless I'm wrong, I think he has to beat down.
I think so. I think Leovold's probably the only card in the deck that like really changes things and shutting off the extra card draw. It's kind of Leovold or bust in that way. Otherwise, it's just a stream of enchantments. Just has a handful of hard counters.
I always forget Leovold has that first ability about the card draw. Does Curtis have any way to interact with the Leovold?
There's never a good way to interact with Leovold.
True.
No, humility would actually shut that off if he's going that route.
The seal, I guess.
Yep. The one turn from seal.
So Curtis on 6 cards. He scries.
Frowns. Opens up with Windswept Heath. We'll see if he's reconsidered going with basics, and he has.
Yeah.
I think he's got his hand slapped last time.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's so easy to forget about something like that, but that could have been the difference really easily. If he had just gone basic forest into Mirri's Guile, the Enchantresses would have started coming out a turn earlier.
And about as good an opening as Tom can hope for there.
Yep, each game he's had the 1-mana Planeswalker, the turn 1 Deathrite Shaman. But that in and of itself is not going to be enough.
This is a strong opening for Curtis so far. Getting the Enchantress down early, setting up card drawing, and having the potential for explosive mana with Nykthos. It's an interesting addition. Definitely a lot of green mana symbols going to be on board if things go his way.
Oh, yeah.
There's the Leovold. So things have officially stopped going his way.
Yeah, King Leo, wow. Incidental hate on the Enchantress deck. Three mana. Green Sun for 2. Okay. So Curtis trying to put himself in a position, if he can ever remove Leovold, to just draw a torrent of cards before it comes down. But it's dazed. One, 2, 3 mana. Ooh.
And true name. The clock is really set here.
Now, question at this point is only, did he cite in humility? Because 2 of these permanents will have to answer, 3 arguably.
It's really a 2-turn window here. Tom's going to be able to effectively deal 8 per turn. No cards drawn off that Enchantress's presence. Coming in for 6, leaving Deathrite open. This game looks to be over next turn with anything short of humility. Even with humility, it would be an uphill battle because there'd still be 3 1/1s on the field.
There's the Zealous that you talked about.
Backup matches are rich game. Backup matches are rich game.
Okay. So I am pulling for Curtis, but it's going to have to be humility right here. Nick those down. That useless hand goes over there.
Looks like a fetch land would have been in order there.
And incidental Enchantress hate in the form of Leovold. Crazy. The one card just shuts him down.
I mean, Curtis either has it or this is an unfortunate error. It is an unfortunate error. He could have fetched after seeing those cards from Miri's Guile and then gotten a fresh card if they weren't good enough.
Ah.
I mean, we're talking about long shots here.
Zealous. Scoop. Do we want to interview him for the third time today?
For what?
Tom Smiley for the third time?
I think the other one.
The guy who lost?
I think that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Tom.
We'll skip. We'll skip the other guy. I'm gonna touch you like that. I'm gonna touch your faces.
So what we're going to try and do, ladies and gentlemen, get Curtis in the booth for an interview about his Enchantress deck. If he's in any mental state to talk to us. Not sure how beat up he is about the loss.
I feel like he's probably pretty resilient if he brought Enchantress.
I think so. He
That would be my guess.
should be used to losing. Not to dump on Enchantress too much, it's fine, but man, it looked ugly there when one of the most commonly played creatures in the format just shut it down.
It does shut a lot of really good decks down too, though. Let's not pick on him too much. I mean,
Yeah.
I've certainly lost to Leovold. I've seen people brainstorm into Leovold. At least Enchantress, you just don't draw the cards. You don't accidentally fate seal yourself twice out of your own hand.
Ugly,
So,
man, ugly.
Yeah, it is certainly more of a testament to Leovold than necessarily an issue with Enchantress. It did impressively win one of those games.
Now, was Leovold a mistake? Is that too bold to say that the printing of Leovold was too good?
Oh, I don't think so. I think it's a format full of the most powerful cards, with very few exceptions, and I think he's righted. I don't look at Leovold and say that this is overly disruptive. I mean, he's shades better than Notion Thief.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
like he's better. Like he's definitely better, but like the effect was there. It's just a little bit less mana, a little bit harder to cast.
A little bit more toughness, I guess.
Yeah,
if that matters.
Yeah. That doesn't matter that much
Right.
usually.
We-
It's nice that he can swing past Deathrite Shaman. Like it's a big format. There's all sorts of trade-offs when you're talking about a creature's backside and what it can get through. Leovold just a really solid card. I'll tell you, it's a good thing that it was in Conspiracy 2. Otherwise, this pack would be worth nothing.
Oh,
'Cause
man.
it's pretty much the Leovold lottery at this point.
Leovold, Inquisition,
That's it.
the end.
Yeah, you just hope. Like that's really. It's kind of cool that they printed a card like that that's worth so much out of a set where it really was a dog for a while, and then it was just like, oh, you opened one of those and you paid for your box.
Turns out this card is worth a lot of money. It is insanely good. I remember the hype wasn't really there for Leovold when it first came out. It took a little bit of time.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 mana, 3/3. You look at it, you're like, oh, what's that set symbol? Oh, a commander set? No, I'm not interested. But as it turns out, a format-defining card now. I'm sure if we get Curtis in here and ask him about Leovold, he'll have prepared for it. I mean, you could look into things like Oblivion Ring, I guess. Journey to Nowhere.
No, there are creature enchantment. There are enchantments that take care of creatures. He was really loaded up on our the Seal of Removal, which is a very inexpensive way of doing it.
Yep.
We'll see if he thinks that would be ideal to try and adjust accordingly for a creature-heavy metagame, which is really what it's become compared to the last time Enchantress was around.
Cool. All right, well, I'm going to leave that to you to interview Curtis. I'm sure he'll have some insight into the Leovold problem.
I want to talk about the Leovold problem.
You want to talk about the Leovold
That's it.
problem? Okay.
That sounds like one of those things that led to the First World War.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Congratulations on bringing an awesome deck to the tournament.
Thank you.
That's really cool. I haven't seen Enchantress in a long time. What made you sleeve it up?
Well, it's a long time ago, I started building it because I'd come from High Tide, and I felt like High Tide wasn't all that powerful as an engine deck any longer, and I wanted a deck that had the maximum amount of drawing cards and dirtling at somebody, but that rewarded kind of a certain amount of deck building. So I love tinkering with the card choices for Enchantress, and when I'm on the day of, I just get to complete like engine cycles that I've done many times. So if I'm stressed, if I'm not sleeping well, whatever, I feel like I can play Enchantress really well. It's a deck that I know.
Cool. Any choices that were kind of new for this tournament, or is this kind of like where you've been for the last, like how long have you been playing it? I've
been playing this deck on and off in every color configuration since 2014, I want to say, on and off. I think I had a high place with, I've placed well with just the green-white list before, and this one would be relatively new for the blue splash. I think that with the Leovold problem, as previously mentioned, Seal of Removal, the only blue enchantment in the entire list, is well worth the blue splash all on its own. You need targeted removal. In the olden days, when Enchantress was more of a meta deck, it could reliably tax out Delver lists or Nimble Mongoose lists or Zoo lists by just playing Elephant Grass or Solitary Confinement. That's no longer the case when individual threats, whether they be Reanimated or Sneak and Shodan or just cast like Knight of the Reliquary or Leovold, are just so powerful against what you want to do.
So what are your thoughts on Deathrite Shaman versus this list? Because Solitary Confinement during those earlier iterations of the deck was actually game over, and you just get behind it and they couldn't touch you.
Right.
Now with Deathrite Shaman being able to drain you behind that, has that been an issue at all, or have your opponents even noticed that they could do that?
Yes, yeah. I have a high opinion of my fellow Legacy players, and I very rarely is there a player who doesn't say, "Oh, I can get him through that." Occasionally, in a moment of forgetfulness, that moment player is me. So, but either way, the thought that I have with that is it's not so much that Deathrite Shaman is a huge threat for the deck, but the decks that are allowable through Deathrite Shaman are much more powerful. Deathrite Shaman makes it possible for someone to keep up with an acceleration hand that includes Serra's Sanctum and Wild Growth. When I was playing against him, he had the same amount of mana as me with 3 permanents out to make mana, the 2 Deathrites and the 1 Noble Hierarch. That's an impressive statement of Deathrite's power in terms of enabling a multicolored deck, in that case a 4-color deck, with all sorts of tools, from Zealous Persecution to Meddling Mage to Abrupt Decay to Leovold.
Yeah, the Leovold, now that you brought him up.
Right.
So we'll talk about him. Do you think that that's the type of card that it's such an underdog situation, or do you think that there's some more tweaks that you'd look at? Cards like Oblivion Ring or Journey to Nowhere, anything like that. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think between the main deck and the sideboard, I've talked a lot about the numbers that I want for it, and I think it's sometimes frustrating to load up on targeted removal just to get blown out by a board state from Death and Taxes or something like that, where it could be any number of creatures plus a Sword of Fire and Ice. The Leovold problem is right now it's got the 4 Seal removals in main deck and the 4 Humilities sideboard, and Humility is very punishing for decks that rely on Leovold and, to a lesser extent, Aethersworn Canonist or Spirit of the Labyrinth or all that jazz. No Mother of Runes is going to protect it, no Abrupt Decay is going to get rid of it, no Green Sun Zenith in what's the elf that destroys it? The
Viridian Shaman?
Yep, something similar to that. Reclamation Sage.
Okay,
the card is immune to all of those effects.
Showing my age there.
Hey, you were closer than me. I didn't offer an answer. I think that having a card like that that's basically destruction-proof against a lot of things is really powerful for the list, and it's something that I'm obliged to maintain in the sideboard from now until the end of time. Even if Leovold was gone and Deathrite Shaman was gone, I think that creatures themselves are more powerful than they were when Enchantress was a stronger meta call.
So once you get down your Humility, what have the games played out like from there for you?
Oh man, it really depends. I don't really always want to play Humility because my only win condition is Emrakul the Aeon's Torn, so you can end up in kind of tricky situations where you have to explain to your opponent you're going to draw out your library multiple times and use your own Seal of Removals to bounce your Emrakul the Aeon's Torn to take multiple turns in a row and beat them to death with your own Humility Argothian Enchantresses. That was a case that we had earlier today, and it took a little while. It was not a beautiful win, but it was, in a truer sense, a moral victory. But I think without that, what you want to do is you want to play out a lot of mana acceleration early, and you then, if you stick any Enchantress, any Green Sun Zenith into Enchantress, Enchantress's Presence, your goal is to just engine at someone. And it's one of the reasons why I talk about it being like a designer deck. I like building it, but once you're playing it, you just want to draw a lot of cards and get ahead of them, because one of the biggest things is that counterspell decks only have so many counterspells, or even so many abrupt decays, and you can potentially overload them with targets on the board. Do they counter your solitary confinement, which potentially makes it impossible for them to win the game, or do they counter your Argothian Enchantress that lets you get ahead, or even your Wild Growth, which invalidates their permission counter magic.
Cool. Was there anything else you wanted to add about the list? Any encouragement for anyone who's thinking about sleeving up some green enchantments?
I think this list is, totally sincerely a labor of love. I've loved playing this list. It's a list that I really enjoy playing and that I think I'm relatively good at. And I say to anyone who looks at Legacy as a format and is wondering to get into it, this list hasn't showed up under anybody else's name in good finishes in a long time. Go for whatever you want to build. This is a format in which you can do anything, and if you get practiced at it and make intelligent card choices and improve your play, you can do anything. And I think that that's what keeps me playing Legacy and what keeps me playing this deck in Legacy.
Great. Well, good luck with the rest of the tournament.
Thank you so much. You guys are running a great event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Well.
What's that?
All right, Eric. Curtis, very excited despite the loss.
Yeah, I thought he would be. It's clear you're here to have some fun if you're sleeving that up. It does have a lot of really interesting lines.
Now, did he admit that maybe it wasn't tier 1?
It's a labor of love.
Okay.
It's a labor of love, and in Legacy, you can play whatever you want as long as you're making solid card choices and improving your play. Was to paraphrase his sentiment. Wow. Humility definitely was something he needed there.
His friend was telling me that he had it in his hand that last turn, so he just needed to draw Sarah Sanctum.
Oh wow!
To play it.
Wow, that is heartbreaking.
So he was close. He was close to the top 8. But not everyone can win. 2 players enter, 1 player leaves when you're X1 playing for top 8, and Tom Smiley just keeps winning this weekend. If I'm not mistaken, his record is 8-2 yesterday in the tournament yesterday, and now he's 4-1 today, 12-3. Not bad. That's a record that top 8's a Pro Tour.
There you go.
Pretty cool. He's looking to lock up his second top 8 in 2 tries in the weekend. So maybe we'll be seeing more of him in the top 8. We'll see if he can draw in tomorrow. We haven't seen his one Gideon come out to play. I'd like to see it.
It is quite a statement about his confidence in the card that he's running that over Jace the Mind Sculptor. I will say he is really impressed with the power that Gideon brings to his deck. So it would be nice to see it in action.
Compare it to Jace the Mind Sculptor when he casts it. It's not very good.
What would Jace do here? Yes.
Oh, man, yeah. Do you want to brainstorm every turn or make a 2/2 every turn? I don't know, Tom. But we'll see, I suppose. In the meantime, while we wait, there's only 30 seconds left in this Legacy round. Do you want to run the listeners through what your company does?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So if you've seen me at PAX or any of the major cons, I'm with Wormwood. I'm one of the owners, and we make heirloom quality gaming accessories. We've recently signed with Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast to create heirloom quality mana symbol boxes. This is the Alpha edition here. They actually are limited to 100 of each type. So here's a Peruvian walnut deck box with a turquoise inlay. It's actually crushed turquoise stone inlaid. We hand sand it down. Everything just made to last for a lifetime of gaming. So we have deck boxes. We also have leather playmats. If you've never played on the leather playmat, you can always come down to Scholars sometime in our feature match. We use these if you want to try it out, but it really is a next level playing experience, and it's something that will last a lifetime as well. We're really trying to take accessories that people think about as disposable, deck boxes, playmats, those are all in the same category for most people as their card sleeves, where you use them for a little while and then you throw them out. Even a really nice playmat, it gets ratty, it gets worn, and it's eventually discarded.
And then you use it as your mouse pad for a bit.
Yeah, and then eventually on its way to the bin. And that's what we're trying to really shift, is make things that go on that journey with you. As you progress as a player, those gaming accessories go with you, and you can look back when you see the playmat in front of you in your top 8 match. You know, you've got your experience collectively, and that playmat has been with you that whole time. And that's just really, it just takes gaming to another level. It really does. There's like a sense of nostalgia there, where you kind of look and see things that become more valuable to you over time, whereas, you know, things that are plastic, it's the opposite. There's a saying in woodworking, which is that wood ages and plastic decays, and that's really what we're all about, is things that actually become more special to you over time, that you would never you wouldn't even want to trade it for a new version, because it's actually got those memories built in. So that's what we're all about, and that's why we guarantee everything that we make for life. You may have seen our ads on the Pro Tour this weekend as well. We had some ads running there. And if you are interested in our wares, you can see them at wormwoodgaming.com. And actually, I'll throw it out. If you want to use the promo code ELD, you'll get free domestic shipping. If you're a fan of the stream here, you get some free shipping anywhere in the U.S. So
that's worth $10 there. Now, this, I know some of the people who I do Secret Santa with every year are listening to this stream. So if you are, guys, Brian, I'm talking to you. Get me a deck box.
There you go.
That'd be pretty cool. I'm a blue mage, so get me one of those. Now the playmats, can people sign them?
Oh yeah, it's a doe tan leather. We also have a stone oiled leather. It's like a water buffalo leather. And we have a wide range of products as well. I bring these up because these are the newest officially licensed accessories. But we have 16 different woods that we work with year round. We have different leathers. You go on the site, and there's really something there for everyone.
That's really cool. Now, are the deck boxes still in stock? You said there are only 100 of each. Have any colors sold out yet?
No, not sold out.
Okay,
So 100 of each.
Good.
They are still available. I'd expect they'll probably be available through Christmas, which is kind of where we price things out. The inlaid boxes, so this is a Peruvian walnut, which is a rarer South American walnut, very dark, very difficult to work with. And then, of course, the crushed turquoise. This is a $200 deck box. And then we have a domestic wood version, which is cherry, and it's engraved with no inlay. Those are $100. They both come with deck dividers, which are suede lined. They're really kind of the nicest boxes that we could think of at those price points. But we did price them out with an expectation that they would hopefully last for 2017. The initial response was very strong. We debuted them at Origins, so we had a nice little bump there, and then we'll be at Gen Con for the 50th anniversary. I expect whatever we bring there will likely sell out. We'll probably only have a dozen or so of each.
One match sell out.
Okay. Brian, speaking to you again, the price limit for Secret Santa is raised to $200.
There you go.
I love it. Well, that's pretty cool. Are you based out of the Boston area?
Yeah, our workshop's about an hour south of Boston.
Nice.
It's in Taunton, Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah.
We're actually in the building that Hasbro used to make all of the little Monopoly houses in.
Wow,
So
that's trivia right there.
It is. It brings it back. The building has come back to a gaming heritage, and just like we're bringing manufacturing back to America. It's
that's
something
great.
that's really, people, they kind of feel like the craftsmanship that we represent, like it had gone away, and it really had to a large degree. And what we're finding, we've sold millions of dollars worth of these products because people, they want quality. Like, we've gotten to the point where, like, yeah, you want a cheap deck box, it's almost free. Like, what is it, a few dollars? Like, who cares? Like,
it comes with tournament entry at half these places.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just, people just want quality. Not everybody's in a space where they're ready to do that. But for the people who are, for the people who have a commander deck where they've really invested, their time and energy into finding the perfect versions of the cards that they want, they want a deck box that represents that. And that's really what we're all about.
If you're going to have a $200 version of a playing card, that's the same as a $5 version. Why not the same for a deck box? Really?
And there's no worries about the reserve lists getting pulled back. These are all limited edition as well, which was important to me that we kind of mirrored that aspect of Magic. Like, I feel like that's a really important part to reward people who have kind of been supporting the thing from the beginning. Like, people who've been supporting